The ridiculous PC that we're gonna have a look at today was actually brought to my attention by a viewer who said that their friend recently bought an abomination of a system off of Newegg, and when I saw the listing, I just had to do a video on it, because this was a Newegg seller that clearly needed repeated tasings to the abdomen. But before we get into the video, I just want to say a huge thanks to Iron Cross Mac, who is the official dad of the Discord. Now, considering that this listing is on Amazon US and I live in Canada, I couldn't actually have it shipped to my house. So Iron Cross Mac was nice enough to have me deliver the PC to his house, and then he forwarded it to me. So thank you. Without you, this video wouldn't have been possible. The box is in real rough condition. It seems like Iron Cross Mac decided to use a portal through a demon's rectum as opposed to an actual delivery service. And whoever delivered the box clearly has a deeper respect for the fragile sticker. I love how the biggest gash is right over it. But anyway, with that, let's get into here and see if everything's still in one piece. As you can see, they've decided to go with the world's most environmentally friendly packing material. Look at all of these packing peanuts. Oh, there we go. Oh. I love how even this terrible pre-built comes with e-waste peripherals. Look at that bad boy. Oh, and here's an awesome present from Iron Cross Mac. Thank you so much. I can't wait to use this for the stream. From the ridiculous amount of packing material, it's clear that this seller seems to hate turtles for some reason, but hopefully it would have helped the PC survive its journey through the bot portal. Oh, what? Holy shit. I just took the plastic off it, and I'm genuinely shocked at the condition. I mean, look at these scratches. What is this thing? Did they buy like surplus ISIS Dell Optiplexes? Like, what the hell? This system supposedly has an RTX 2060 in it, but I just can't get over the condition. It really looks like a black box that's been dug out of airplane wreckage. This kind of stuff isn't shipping damage either. This is like long-term wear. This Dell Optiplex had one hell of a life. Look at it. I'm just standing here in awe looking at this thing, because like, did they genuinely think that they could sell this to someone and then they wouldn't immediately return it in outrage? But with that, let's open it up and see what the inside looks like. It wasn't even screwed down, by the way. Like, the panel just opens up. Ooh. Straight off the bat, there's a pretty promising sign, and it's the fact that they actually upgraded the power supply to something that should be able to handle an RTX 2060. Because there were reports of people saying that they got it with the stock Dell power supply in it, so it would just crash because it couldn't actually run the GPU. So at least they fixed that. But then there's the cable management, which, you know, it's a Dell Optiplex. There's not that much you can do as far as cable management goes, but there's like no effort put into that. In here we've got an SSD, which is actually it's just loose. It's not screwed down. That's actually the second time I've seen that in one of these pre-builds, so that's pretty wild. We have these cables that have just not been routed across at all. So that's the CPU power down there. It's plugged in properly though. The same goes for all of the cords. They're actually plugged in properly. Let's see what SSD this is that they used here. Then they just left loose in the thing. They didn't mount it properly. But anyway, so it's an ADATA SU635, which is a very basic SSD, and it's a 240 gig version of it. Let me just slide that back in there. Now this is an Asus Phoenix version of the RTX 2060. Now my past experience with Asus Phoenix versions of cards have been surprisingly negative. These things have terrible coolers on them. So I'm going to be interested to see what kind of temperatures we'll be getting in this Dell Optiplex. Now, one foot up that this gaming PC has over most pre-builts is the fact that it actually has dual channel memory. But let's see what RAM this is that it's got here. So I think it's supposed to have 16 gigs of RAM in it. Okay, so it's 8 gigs of DDR3, 1600 megahertz. So it does have 16 gigs of DDR3 in here. I'm really curious to see how this thing's gonna perform. As far as I can remember, the listing said that this has an i5 in it. I'm not sure what i5 exactly, but it's definitely not a new one. So with that, let's power the system on and see A, if it works, and B, what kind of gaming performance we get from it. And then I'm gonna take that poor little RTX 2060 and put it in a proper modern gaming system to see how much this Dell Optiplex, which has clearly been dug out of an ancient Egyptian archaeological site, kneecaps its gaming performance. It's the moment of truth. Let's see how this Satan spawn runs. Oh, there we go. I'm just sitting here like waiting for the boot process to happen, looking at this system, and it's so crazy. Now, straight after booting into Windows, it's clear that this abomination has a clear advantage over going with something like an Acer Loser Nitro Suckface Edition prebuilt, in that the only bloatware on this PC is Windows itself. Let's see what CPU we're working with here. Ooh, an i5 3470. That's gonna be a very interesting pairing with the RTX 2060. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how much performance you lose putting the RTX 2060 into an Isis surplus Dell Optiplex. Let's not mince words here, it runs like it's recovering from a botched hip replacement. It's got an RTX 2060 in it, which is a reasonably powerful graphics card, yet it still struggles to maintain 60 frames per second at 1080p. Starting off with GTA 5, which is by no means a new game, depending on what area you're in, sometimes it's struggling to maintain 60 frames per second, which is real bad considering the fact that there's an RTX 2060 in here. I think the funniest part about all of this is that GPU utilization compared to CPU utilization. This is a textbook example of a CPU bottleneck. Moving over to Battlefield 5, and it's very much the same story. That poor little i5 has no idea what to do with itself. The same thing goes for Escape from Tarkov. That poor little i5 is just trying its heart out, but it can't help but leave all of the other components unsatisfied. Although the upside of all of this bottlenecking is the fact that the system's actually running fairly cool and quiet, surprisingly so for a Phoenix-based RTX 2060 in a Dell Optiplex, but I guess it's just because it's not really doing anything in the system. Now at this point, I think the most useful thing we can do to illustrate just how stupid it is to drop an RTX 2060 in Darwin's Dell Optiplex is by pairing that 2060 with a more modern CPU and to see how much more performance we get in that situation. This is the fairly ghetto setup that I'm going to use to illustrate how much that Isis Optiplex is holding back this poor RTX 2060. Now, as far as the CPU goes, we've got a sexy Ryzen 5 5600X in there, which is a great gaming CPU, with 16 gigs of DDR4 3600 MHz, and then finally the Asus Phoenix RTX 2060. So yes, if it wasn't already very obvious from the outset of this video, pairing an RTX 2060 with a 700-year-old Dell Optiplex is a really terrible idea. With most of the games that I tested, the 1% lows of the Ryzen CPU was higher than the average with the Loserplex. That's with the same graphics card. But that isn't the worst part of all of this. The worst part is the fact that this person thought it was okay to charge $1,000 for this thing, and that people have actually bought it. A refurbished Dell Optiplex kind of makes you think that they took some time and care to choose a good condition one and then clean it up nicely. But this is like the worst condition Dell Optiplex I've ever seen. It looks like something that they used to store ammo in the Second World War. But before we end off this video, let's do a quick breakdown of how much the base components in this system is worth to see just how ridiculous that $1,000 really is. Now, if you go onto eBay right now, you can get a very similar refurbished Dell Optiplex, which I hope is in significantly better condition than this one, for about $150 US. You can probably get them for cheaper if you buy them in bulk from like a school or whatever, but let's generously say that the actual Dell Optiplex is worth $150 US. And then let's say the combination of adding an SSD in here and another 8 gigs of RAM is about $100 US. Again, this is fairly generous. And then finally, we just need to factor in the power supply and the graphics card. Yo, there's like no stock. Now, when it comes to the price of the graphics card, there is literally no stock of 2060s left anywhere, apparently, but they usually go for about $320 to $350. So let's put it down at $350, again, just to be generous here. And then finally, that power supply is max like 50 bucks. So that means that all of the components in this system is worth about $650. Now again, nobody should use this combination of components, but they have $650 worth of components in here, which they're selling for $1,000 US. And the reason that they think they can get away with it and get people to actually pay for that is because it's essentially just keyword mining at this point. Now the thing is, it's really easy as somebody that knows a lot about computers to look at this and say, this is obviously a scam. Why would anybody buy it? You're better off setting your money on fire. But look at it from the perspective of somebody who's just gotten into the hobby, who plays mostly like Fortnite and Minecraft. There's a lot of RTX branding in those games now, right? You see that, oh, this is the new graphics technology. I want a PC that can do that, but I can't afford most of them. So you go onto Newegg and you filter from cheapest to most expensive. You see this and you go, okay, the case is really ugly, but it's got RTX in it. And at least it's got an i5 in it. An i5 may not be an i7 or an i9, but it's better than an i3 or whatever, right? So you see that branding and you see 16 gigs of RAM and you think, maybe this is gonna be fine. I'm saving a lot of money over the alternative. And then you end up with this piece of 100-year-old garbage. This PC basically just uses keywords to ensnare people that don't know any better. And that's real naughty. That's like Shelob level naughty. But anyway, with that, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Check out my stream and a bunch of other stuff linked out in the description below. And until the next video, bye-bye.